Hi guys, today I'm presenting my action research via this screencast because I'm in another really exciting district event and I can't be with you. So for my action research, I wanted to investigate the question, does technology in the classroom increase student engagement? And before I explain my findings, I'm going to give you a little bit of background about my classroom. So this year, with both of my advanced biology students, we've gone through a paperless classroom. And so students have access to a 1-to-1 ratio of laptops during classroom time, before and after school. And this allows us to do most things virtually. So note taking, most lectures, labs are even collected on the laptops. And I have a collaborating teacher that I develop curriculum with. So these aren't just only my crazy ideas. I have someone to share blame with. And then I've just also had many hours of observation before I started collecting data, going into that collaborating teacher's room and watching students while I wasn't teaching and seeing what they use their computers for. It's amazing how quickly they forget you're there and what they start to do on the computers that you can watch. So the method for my action research is, because I'm in a paperless classroom, my collaborating teacher and I have been analyzing student performance data for all of first semester on just one area of skills for the students, which is data collection and analysis. And so I thought I could look at this data first before developing my survey for students to see if the technology was effective in improving their performance. So then after we finished data collection first semester, I thought of a lot of different ways to measure student engagement. I was going to have teachers roaming the classroom, marking off students. I was going to have students freeze and then come around and tally. And all of those I decided were going to change behavior too much. And so the best way was to provide a student survey with a discussion about what engagement is and have the students reflect back on how engaged they've been over the last several months in a paperless classroom. And then I decided that, if I saw anything in the data that was interesting, I could select a group of students from each class and ask them about the results. So the performance results were really encouraging in the ability for students to collect and analyze data from the beginning of the semester, which is over here with one of our formative assessments in a big lab, where students have to collect data, use the data to form conclusions, and choose what kind of graph is appropriate for the data, to the end of this semester where they had a final lab where they did very similar tasks, and both of these were graded on the same rubric. Students really improved in their ability to analyze and collect data. So this, along with a lot of other anecdotal results, I found that it was really successful. The paperless classroom is really successful, giving students way more opportunities at graphing, and very efficient graphing too. They can try out different graphs and compare graphs with their neighbor while they're creating it. The student survey results from my engagement survey were a little less encouraging. It was a 12 question Google form that I provided to the students after a quick discussion about what engagement meant, and we came up with examples of engagement. And 40% of the students, as you can see in the graph below, did not think that the technology increased, or just under 40% of students didn't think that technology really increased their engagement at all in the classroom, which means 60% of students do find that they're more engaged and focused and able to do work with technology. So it wasn't quite as high as I wanted it to be, but it still isn't bad for the first year with all those kinks. Most of the specifics, so then I asked them on specific tasks, lectures, projects, labs, editing labs, which forms of daily tasks were they most engaged in. And I got this really similar curve to all of those questions. So with lectures, you can see this mixed engagement. we have a lot of people in the middle, which could be a function of, the 5-point scale. And we have, on almost all of these, we have about 30% of students, between 26 and 30% of students, they're in the 0 to 1 range for engagement, which means they were not at all engaged or engaged very little. Lectures concern me because I tend to agree with the students I talk to, which is that paper notes might better suit lectures because they're more quickly adaptable to, ad lib examples or to writing notes to yourself than maybe organizing your work on a Google document while you listen to a lecture. Let's skip this since I'm running late on time. Oh wait, let's go back actually. Project creation had the highest number of students saying that they really felt increased engagement, or they felt really engaged because of the technology. So they were supposed to gear all their answers towards, what role did the technology play. So project creation, they definitely feel a benefit in the technology more so than the other results. This is the only one that didn't have that really nice bell curve. It's a little bit more spread out. Also of note, 48% of all students rated the flipped classroom or video lectures at home a 1 or a 2 in terms of engagement. So that's a little concerning. Of the students that I talked to about that, there seemed to just be a lot of general resistance. They couldn't articulate really good reasons why they didn't find it engaging, just that they liked classroom lecture better. And one student did point out that they wanted the ability to ask questions, and they couldn't do that in the flipped classroom. And a lot of students in the survey found having the internet available during class time was really helpful, but about 30% of them admitted in an anonymous survey that they used the class, this is on a 0 to 4 scale, this middle bullet here, 30% of students admitted on a 3 to 4 using the internet for unrelated classroom activities, which is a little concerning. So informing the data, we talked a little bit about paper note taking. I've kind of had a little bit of an inkling that there's something missing when you're typing notes exclusively and you're not able to draw diagrams or ad lib on paper. And students that I talked to about the survey results confirmed that it was a very small group of students. Some students that kind of resisted note-taking as well said that they could just do it on their own, that they didn't need a teacher at all in front of them. And for that, I think that maybe there's a little gap between the traditional learning model and how we're using the technology to deliver instruction. So I think there's some validity to, some students feeling like they can do this on their own. And like I said before, I'm getting a lot of people's answers to my questions about the data. I got a lot of resistance and just kind of, we liked it the way it is before. We like it in our classes that don't use technology. So it's hard to tease out what if it is the technology and what if it is that this is just different. I thought this was an interesting graph, why students are off task when they are, and many of them answered that they were bored, or that they had other important tasks like checking grades, or that they were behind on homework. So some future studies and limitations. I think to better answer the question about engagement as a function of technology, it might be nice to run very similar activities with different modes. So one classroom getting technology and one classroom getting more traditional instruction. Sorry, that's my dog. Okay, and then lastly, some limitations that we need to discuss about this action research was that I only gave the survey once, so maybe giving it at different increments throughout a unit or a semester would definitely produce better data. And also, sometimes students can be unaware of alternatives in the science classroom. They think graphing on paper is so awesome until it takes them 45 minutes to do so, and on Google Docs it takes them much less. And then lastly, I kind of wonder, I should have broken it out by period in my survey, because I have one class that tends to just be more negative and one class that tends to just love everything we're doing on the computers. So I would have been able to better tease out, where the responses were coming from. So thanks a lot. Wish I could be there to discuss the results with you guys. Have a good night.